Stocks now. Calgro M3 is a black empowered residential project developer with a market cap of 760 million rand, so it already doesn't meet Paul's criteria, which was founded by the Steyn and Malherbe families. It has a 15-year track record in the middle income housing developments, and Calgro M3 has a price to earnings ratio of 8.4 but currently pays no dividends. We chatted about this one quite recently with Malherbe and Steyn.
Yeah, it was an interesting run because they came to the market also in that period, and then they fell quite hard. The CEO, a guy called Peter Waweru, kind of came out of nowhere, and then he left. And then Ben Malherbe kind of stepped in. But this one was started by the Steyn brothers. There's Doe, Dirk, and Derek or something, and the three of them...
The famous Doe Steyn.
...started them. Well, I'm not sure if it's that same insurance famous Doe Steyn, but this one's also famous. They're building that place called Steyn City out in the sort of Muldersdriftlands area.
There you go, Steyn City. Can't get more famous than that.
But they're doing well. I mean, they really are in all of those different niches in the urban construction game, looking at low income, you know, RDP type houses, as well as in the middle market where they work with clients getting mortgages and so on. Pretty good.
Francois, what are your thoughts on Calgro M3?
Well, I think the company, after having a very bad crash, coming down to roughly 40, 50 cents back in 2010, 2011, it's definitely gone up a lot. And I think a lot of investors are scared because the company's run so hard, but I think there's definitely more legs in it. Their current order book stands at roughly 12 billion rands for a 700 million rand company. So, I mean, in terms of the houses they have to build, there's so much scope for growth.
What about the robustness of that order book?
Well, one of the things that Calgro is putting a lot of emphasis on is that marketing is the most important part of their business. They won't build anything until they've got a seller for it, a buyer for it, sorry. In terms of low income housing, there's roughly a shortage of 1.6 million houses. That's what our Minister of Housing said the other day. So it's a massive market of people who need houses and just can't find anything.
Paul, this one, although it's below $1 billion, looks as though it's a good investment case.
Yeah, I think as Francois says, there have been some problems in this area. We've had RBA, which has battled. We've had CK, which is also really, really battled. And then the other smaller construction firms. And generally having the state as a client, you know, whether it's a part contributor to a housing development or the outright payer or for, you know, RDP houses is not seen as a big plus because the state's not so good at paying, and you can get contractual disputes and then it pushes up your working capital and you're in big trouble. But, I mean, that doesn't mean this isn't a good space to be, because as Francois says, Tokyo Sequoia wants to build X million more houses and they've got the land for it. They're very good at their relations with the financiers and with the township development people, you know, the regional and local authorities have got to give permissions. So I think you've got to back these guys. They're young, they're dynamic, they are well connected. But this is a sector that's difficult.
Francois, what about potential corporate activity here?
I don't see corporate activity going forward. I don't think they have a big enough order book to sustain themselves, to sustain massive growth. In terms of growing the business, working capital is their main requirement. So they want cash. The more cash they have, the more houses they can build, the faster they grow. So it would actually be stupid to spend your well-earned cash on another business and curb your growth.
What about their being bought out?
Oh.
The other way around. If this is potentially such a hotspot from a demand-supply perspective, then maybe one of the bigger players could look at Calgro M3.
I think many of the bigger construction players in our market also have balance sheet problems. They don't have a lot of money. So in terms of merger and acquisition or activity like that in the sector, I'm not so sure.
The sector's just not in the right space for it, so to speak. Paul?
Look, it's mostly held by its directors. If you look at the list of significant shareholders, you can see all the trusts that end with S, which are the Steyn family interests, and then the Malherbe group as well, because they put it all together. But it listed at 3 rand, it went to 30 cents, now it's back at 6 rand. But I think it's done well to survive and come back bouncing and looking good. From here, yes, maybe. I mean, in the right kind of environment, you could find others wanting to be bigger in this space. But I think for the moment, they're going to enjoy their strength and the fact that they can come on slightly higher margins, etc.
Do we need to know anything else before we call hot or not?
I think one of the nice factors with the company at the moment is government is doing a subsidy on housing. So anybody earning below 15,000 rands a month can actually get a housing subsidy, and this will definitely also drive demand for these houses. More people will actually have the money to put down a deposit on a low income house, for instance, or a 200 or 250,000 rand house.
Very important point. Hot or not, Paul, on Calgro M3?
Yeah, why not? Let's let my arm be bent under $1 billion, but let's go for it. Hot.